The next item is agenda item number 6, the general manager's employment agreements.
Madam President, so being on the committee, David and I both agreed that we should bring this matter to the board, but I would like to read a statement of my experience and highlights, lowlights of the 2 times that the committee met. So the first meeting that we had was with David and Andy on October 16th. After the board appointed David and me to this committee to negotiate with June on his employment agreement, I contacted June and asked if he wanted to be included in the first meeting. He suggested that we meet without him. David suggested inviting Andy to help clear up some misunderstandings in the contract. I was under the impression that we were meeting to discuss a couple of places in June's contract that needed clarification. At this meeting, I heard that David and Mark had already met with June. They told June that since they may want to go in a different direction, they would like to know if June would consider resigning or retiring instead of being terminated. The proposal was to come up with a revised contract that would allow June to resign or retire and still get his severance pay, which is a provision in his current contract if the board terminates his employment. I objected to this concept under the general principle that it makes it cleaner to get rid of somebody you don't want, and I wanted to keep going with June. We agreed to continue the conversation. We agreed that to continue the conversation, we needed input from June, and it would be best if we scheduled a second meeting after the November election. That meeting was held on November 12th, and it was with June, myself, and David. After pleasantries, I asked David if his intent was to see June to the door or stick with him. He mentioned that he believed there was sufficient support to go in a new direction with the general manager position. That indicated to me that he and Mark were on the same page, and they weren't sure, but thought because of some tension at recent board meetings that Melissa would be on board too. I then found out that the meeting with Mark, David, and June was held after the board formed the committee to handle matters related to the GM contract on October 7th. I was taken aback as it appeared I was now unknowingly part of a walking quorum. I expressed my concern with Open Meetings Act violations upon hearing this. If David and Mark had met before the committee was formed, the initial meeting with June could have been justified. But as it is, this action put us all at risk. We then moved on to the contract itself. David came prepared with a simplified draft contract revision. It had the tone of ushering June out the door. The highlights of the draft included these items. It would reduce the length of the contract from an automatic renewal to 6 months. Require June to find his own replacement within 3 months, and said candidate would have to have board approval. June asked David what would happen if he couldn't find anyone in that time frame, and there was no response. It also would significantly cut June's salaries and benefit. And the final result would be if June were to self-terminate, there is no requirement that he would have to provide any transition services or knowledge transfer to his successor. The morning after the meeting, after the second meeting, David called me to tell me that the intent of his meeting with Mark in June was to determine June's intentions or desires regarding his service with the authority. I asked David why it required 2 of them to ask June anything, and he acknowledged that it would have been better if he had talked with June alone. That's my report on the activities of that committee. My thoughts surrounding these events include anger and frustration. We have another 2 to 4 years to work together, and I don't need to be worried about the Open Meetings Act. This does not help the organization and reduces my optimism significantly. Knowing that at least 2 of the directors are looking to replace June only makes it worse. What are our intentions? What are our options if they are successful? Will we lose other staff members too? We just fired our lobbyist with a new session of the legislature starting up. Is June the next step in destroying the authority from within? That's the end of my comment. So, again, this is my take, and David may have a different take. At this time, we asked for this agenda item to be put on here so that we could get one direction or another. Are we gonna keep June, or are we gonna go somewhere else? Because the committee, we need to know that. We need to gear the new contract based on what the board wants. So, I would actually like to ask for a polling of the board to see, do they want to stick with June, or do they want to go a new direction?
Before I have a comment, either of you have a comment? Do you mind if I say something before we have a comment? Personally, I'm disappointed because I've been suggesting we do a performance review for the last several months, at least, which would allow for all the directors to give their opinion of, June's performance, and if there's any areas for improvement and that kind of thing. And I think that would have been the route to go. I'm shocked to find out that, what Director Fest was discussing, that we had one or more directors that are just kind of, that took June aside and said, basically, we want to maybe let you go. That part of the committee, we had a committee that's supposed to be handling this, so I think the way to do this, whether we're deciding whether to keep it June or not, is we should have had this performance review. That's how I'm feeling about it, and I don't think the way it was handled with taking June out back and saying we're gonna be letting you go, it's not a way to handle this. To me, I see it as one director is trying to, take charge and make a decision by himself, so I'm disappointed in that. Are you guys willing to, are you about ready to do a poll and see where we're at as far as, what's the look about, Director Ramsey? I'm referring to you, that you decided, I guess, to. Okay. What is what is correct?
The only question I have, what was the different direction that we're going to go?
Well, the direction is we're keeping June and we're gonna revise his contract. I think the committee is gonna see if they have any revisions to it. I think June's he was waiting to see what we're gonna do. Then he might have some revisions that he would like to see in the contract. That was one route. And the other routes that someone's trying to take, is just decide to let it go. I thought I got that straight. So the committee is waiting to hear what the board has to say, do I get that right?
Yes.
Can I get feedback? so you'll know.
I think they're wanting to hear from you, from what I heard.
I
They're
just,
wanting to hear from you.
okay.
No,
Me.
the president,
Well, and I just gave you my thoughts on, I didn't think about it, you're right, that was a walking quorum, and, it sounds to me like we had two guys take our general manager out and trying to decide, make a decision on what they wanted to do. Why is that not correct? Can you just tell me how it's wrong? Okay, well, we had two directors on the committee.
Not when we think used the open meetings violation, we had zero discussion on contract.
Could you speak up, please, so we can all hear you?
Yeah, make it loud.
If you repeat what he said, we can hear, please.
He said something like we had zero, discussion on contract details.
It's true. We had a general discussion to see what June would want to do if that were to happen.
Is what we're gonna have.
If it were to be that he would be voted out, how would he want that to be?
Is that how I went, Mr. Chen?
Doesn't matter to me, it was made clear, the directors I met with is waiting to go different directions. However, it was suggested that we make that determination after the election.
And why is that?
You should have asked the director the concept to.
Depends who got elected. I don't think we should be deciding whether we're letting June go or not without having the board discussed how do we think he's been doing.
I think you've got enough.
you'll have two members give him fives and two members give him ones on all his ratings. What does that accomplish? And then you give whatever. That's what will happen if you wanna do a performance evaluation.
Well, I think it was gonna be more in depth than that. We had like 5 pages, but I didn't bring them with me tonight, so. I think hopefully I'm for revising the contract, if the committee is wanting to go that direction, so now move forward with discussions with our general manager.
Contract or what?
June's contract.
Revising it to what?
We knew.
We didn't have any direct, that's why we came to the board to figure out what kind of contract are we gonna give him? One that's helping him out the door, or one that's hoping to retain him?
Not helping you. Yes.
We need a specific motion.
Another option would be, if you wanted to discuss any of the legal issues regarding the contract.
No, not now. That's chicken, if you ask me. Let's
Well, we don't have it in front, it's an agreement, right?
There's no contract.
It's an agreement, isn't it? Yeah. And,
committee's asking for some direction. I don't know how you put that in the form of a motion. I could make a motion that we retain the general manager
and the
for the
committee,
for the foreseeable future. And then, so I think we'll go ahead and do that. So I move that we do whatever we can, or whatever acceptable, to maintain a relationship with June Chang as our general manager for the foreseeable future.
discussion, directors? Yes, sir.
before we'll take that vote on that motion, I would, first clarify that I was the one initiated this negotiation or renegotiation of my contract. Because my contract doesn't expire. They automatically renew on an annual basis. And the original reason for me to request that renegotiation is there is a term or provision in the contract that requires me to stay 1 year after I tender my resignation. And I find that was quite unreasonable and unrealistic, because if I resign, it will only for 2 reasons. One, my health condition does not allow me to continue to perform. Or two, I no longer wish to work here anymore. Under either condition, to require me to stay another year doesn't make any sense. So that was the real reason I asked for a revision. And I expressed that to the committee as well. Given current situation, I think what I will do is I will withdraw my request to negotiate. I no longer want to negotiate. It's very clear, I'm gonna continue work under my current contract, and at any time, any day, the board decide to part ways with me, that's fine. When I accepted this job, it's very clear, it is at will employment, so I'm fully prepared for that.
Well, Mr. Chang, I'm not sure why you have to withdraw that request. The committee's now heard it, and they could,
Well, when you receive a draft of the contract revision, basically it tells me we don't need you to, you don't deserve what we pay you. I think it's insulting. And I have no trust or any willingness to negotiate my contract, because any negotiation has to be based on trust base. I don't think the trust base is there. So I'm just continue to do my job until the day you guys tell me you no longer need me.
well, does the committee plan to meet again? Now
There's
after
no
this meeting?
negotiation, there's no committee.
Well, I mean, if there is a part of the contract that needs to be reviewed and advised, I mean,
It's not part of the requirement.
doesn't mean they can't do it though.
Doesn't mean I have to agree to it.
Right. I
Well,
mean, cause like you said,
I
the
don't wanna, open meetings or not, I don't wanna put myself at risk for more of this behind the scenes activity, so I'm going to withdraw from the committee.
I'll amend the motion that we renew June's contract for the next 3 years.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Right. Okay, we're gonna vote on, Ron's amendment to the motion, to make the agreement be for 3 years. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, passes 3-2. Okay.
amendment.
That was the amendment to, renew it for 3 years. I still think, Mr. Chang was wanting to make some changes to it, but, so I guess we'll vote on Kelly's motion, Director Fesser's motion
As
on,
amended.
yeah, as amended, to renew June's contract then, our agreement, as it is. Any discussion on that? All in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Any abstentions? Okay. Motion passes 3-1 to 0. Okay, so that's done, committee's done, and employment agreements renewed for 3 years. Congratulations, Mr. Chang.
Thank you.
Next up is, agenda item number 7, supplemental notice of public meeting.
Oh,
That'd be you, Mr. Johnson.
that is, okay. Well, this is not quite as dramatic as what just occurred. But there was an election. We have received the returns from the Harris County Elections Office. And you should have in front of you a copy of some school. Okay, there are the returns. And you should also have in front of you order canvassing returns and determining results of the November 5th, 2024 elections election for single member voting district number 4 and 5 of the North Harris County Regional Water Authority. Section 1 of that recites the results from voting member, voting district number 4 with the number of votes cast in each one with the result of Director Ramsey, 33,655 votes. Mr. Wendell, 10,611 votes in total. With the winner declared as Mr. Ramsey. With respect to single member voting district number 5, the results are Kelly Fessler, 18,842, and Roy Burrows, 14,633, declaring Director Fessler. So, unless anyone knows of any fraud or illegal activity with respect to the ballots, this is a ministerial activity, and you're required to canvass the returns of the election as returned by the Harris County Elections Office. You will do so by adopting this order that's before you.
Is that the vote, how the motion goes? Usually you adopt the order? Okay. Where a motion?
Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. Okay. Congratulations, Director Ramsey and Director Fessler. Y'all signed up for 4 more years.
Are you gonna swear him in?
We can swear them in, we have to.
We doing that tonight, or
Yeah,
is it in
it's
December?
usually not done at the campus.
No, yeah, let's do it in December. Okay.
What do you say?
It's
We'll do
usually not
December.
done at the campus. You don't swear in at the campus.
You don't?
You can't, but you don't have to.
So, we have no past.
Yeah, it doesn't, they're already in this.
I want somebody else to swear.
You don't get, Director Ramsey doesn't care, and you don't care.
We usually do that when they take office.
Okay, we'll do it in December. All right. Welcome back aboard. Next item, agenda item number 8, election of officers.
Thought we did that in December.
January wanna do this tonight, or?
Particular reason?
The reason was to get on with everything. It's been a constant amount of turmoil in the board, and just to get this behind us and be done, one way or the other.
Well, you, by turmoil, you mean between, me and the attorney?
Well, yeah, that's part of it, yes.
So, we're doing this tonight, now we're doing this tonight?
I'll make the motion, we keep the same officer.
Second that.
Is this for 2025? Is this for the next 2 months, or 2020?
Still comes up. on-
Well,
It still comes up on the agenda anyway, of course.
Okay. We've got a motion, second on the table, any discussion? Director Ramsey?
Yeah. At the risk of losing at least one vote, I'm really disturbed that we would be falsely accused of something without even checking with us ourselves. This could easily wait till January, that's what it says in the bylaws. However, we do have a legislative session that, as one lobbyist has already described to me, is already in session. And if we postpone this to January, then that's going to have the effect of not letting us get as involved until January as we might want.
How's that?
What's the election officers got to do with lobbyists?
Separate issue, that was just an aside, piece of data, sorry for data, just ignore it. The point is, we need to be working with the legislature now, not 2 months ago.
Do you have something particular?
That's all.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of keeping officers the same as we have now, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
Motion passes 3-2.